All right, so now it's time to actually start to build. So what I'm working with here is my base wall and my two side walls, which are a little bit thinner than the base wall, or maybe the same thickness. And what I'm going to do is take my fork and score up the edge of the base wall, the side of the base wall that's going to come into contact with my sidewall. Now, if you don't want to work with a fork provided in your kit, you also have a toothpick to use, as I'm using here, or a bent paper clip works just as good. So any of those three tools are ideal for scoring your clay. You're going to want to score up the bottom of the sidewall that's going to come into contact with the base wall. So wherever two pieces of clay meet up and join, you must slip and score both of those areas. So that's what I'm doing right now. I just scored up the base wall, the edge, the side, or the side of the base wall that's going to come into contact with my sidewall. Sorry, that sounds confusing. And so now I added a little bit of water and I scored again. I recommend you do that. Score, then add water, then score again. Be real generous with the water. When you're scoring, be kind of aggressive. So these are obvious scratch marks. And that way we'll be able to create almost like a Velcro-like effect. And these two pieces will bond together really well. Remember, ugly sides inward, pretty sides outward. So I'm double checking that I did that right now. And then it's just a matter of applying a little bit of pressure so that the wall bonds to the base. I'm kind of pressing downward, so I'm not squeezing. It looks like my hands are squeezing the wall. They are not. They definitely are not squeezing the wall. Just applied a little bit of pressure, and the two hands were there for support. Now, you're going to see your slip or your water ooze out. Go ahead and quickly and lightly smear that away. I know it looks hideous, but we're going to give that a makeover later once the entire box is built. Okay. Now I'm just kind of double checking the sidewall is intact and not wobbly. The nice thing about building with walls that are slightly tough and have dried out a little bit is the fact that they're not going to be flimsy. You never want to build with brand new soft plastic fresh clay. It's going to flop around and be uncooperative. Okay, so now let's examine this seam that has shown up as a result of the base wall and my first sidewall coming together. Just like in clothing that you wear, you're going to have seams appear in clay. And we're going to add a coil over that seam that's going to serve two purposes. It's going to camouflage the ugly seam. And I'm going to get my clay, by the way, from the small Ziploc bag. That's going to be my coil clay. And then the second reason you're going to want to add a coil is, for reinforcement. So 2 reasons: to beautify the project, cover up those ugly seams, but mostly to reinforce it so that that wall is stronger and bonding with another wall properly. And when you roll out your coil, make sure you have some moisture in your hands. I recommend going with a pencil thick coil or thinner. Just don't make it fatter than a pencil or you're giving yourself more work to do. Okay? And NAIF is all about shortcuts, guys. I don't want you to create more work for yourself. Okay, so I'm just checking my coil that it's long enough, and in fact, it's too long. So I'm going to snip it both ends. I'm going to snip both ends, give them a haircut, trim off both ends, and now I have this custom length to my coil that will fit properly and cover that seam. At this point, you're going to slip and score the coil into place. It's not difficult to do that. It's just time consuming. And again, you can work with a fork, a paper clip, or a toothpick. You can do cross-hatching marks. You can poke holes, as I'm doing right now. Whatever works for you. Holes or cross-hatching, it's all good. And then you're going to want to take your free hand and support the corner, the outer corner of your box, because I need you to score up over the seam. And that corner is awkward. So again, wherever you have two pieces of clay coming together, in this case, a coil with a corner of the box, you must slip and score those two areas. And like I said, it's a little tricky to get into that corner. Your best bet is using a bent paper clip. And the reason that tool is going to be work out best for this situation is because you can bend it. So here I'm going to manipulate that paper clip to have a little bit more of a curvature to it, and that way I can get into that corner a little bit easier with my paper clip and scratch it up, score it up. And then I just added some water, and I did the same thing to the coil. So I've scored the coil, added some water. You don't have to score again if you don't want to. For coils, you can just do score and then water. But if you want to score again, you can. And then just take your thumb and press that coil into position, into place, just so it's secure and, sticking to the box. You may have to trim your coil again. It may have elongated and you'll have to edit that. Okay. And then now it's just a matter of blending. Now I like to use a popsicle stick, and that will be in your kit, but there's also authentic, legit ceramic tools for blending, and they could be wooden or plastic, as you see here. If you're in person with me in class, you'll be able to use those or a popsicle stick. And like I said, I prefer a popsicle stick, honestly. All right. Now you're going to blend your coil on your tabletop. I'm holding my project up in the air so you can see a good close-up angle of it. And here's how you do it. You're going to pull down on the lower half of the coil. You're going to see obvious popsicle stick strokes. Now you can do this diagonally, as I just did a second ago, or you can pull straight down. And when you've made a pass across the entire coil, rotate your box so you're doing the same thing on the other half of the coil. Again, this is not pretty, but this is temporary. This ugly texture will eventually go away. And remember, we're doing this to help bond the two walls together. Okay? But we will give this a makeover to the point where we will remove evidence of a coil even being there, and people won't see it and know it's there. Now, with your second wall, your second side wall, I should say, you're going to do the same exact thing. However, it's a little trickier to slip and score because you don't have much room for your hand. And, if you've got a large hand, you're an athlete, and you have a large basketball playing hand, this could be a little tricky for you. Just do the best you can.